Radio presents Fundamental Youth Coaching Techniques, a four-part sports education series designed to help parents and coaches teach kids the basics. Featuring the University of Michigan's Bo Schembechler on football, the legendary John Wooden on basketball, soccer with Bob Gansler, former head coach of the U.S. Youth World Cup team, and this program, teaching kids baseball with the University of Arizona's Jerry Kindall, coach of the 1986 College World Series champions. With the 1986 NCAA title, Jerry Kindall has won more championships than any other Division I coach in the last 11 years. Since 1972, his Wildcats have averaged over 40 wins a season. There's no special secret to Kindall's success, just a firm belief in the value of fundamentals, hard work, and teamwork. It's a philosophy he likes to share. Kindall's vast experience as a pro ball player and college coach gives him the expertise that'll help you teach kids baseball.
Baseball is a great game, and great value can be gained by a youngster by participating in baseball if the proper elements all come together in his behalf. Whether the player is a little leaguer in Tucson or a big leaguer in Yankee Stadium, he needs the following. First of all, to be instructed in the right fundamentals and techniques of running, throwing, hitting, and fielding, the baseball skills. This is the responsibility of his coach, and I trust that this instructional videotape will help the coach and players to learn properly. Secondly, he needs to be encouraged and supported by his parents, coaches, and other adults in his life. There's much failure in baseball. Nobody bats 1,000, nobody catches every ball, nobody pitches all no-hitters. So the player needs to have his confidence and self-esteem built up by caring and love. Thirdly, he needs the cooperation of his teammates. Baseball is truly a team game, and success will come when all the players work together for common team goals rather than selfish individual goals. With these three things in place, good fundamentals, encouragement from the parents and other adults in his life, and the help of his teammates, a player can have the best possible experience in baseball and maximize his potential. So now let's get underway. It's important for the little leaguer to have a solid and firm foundation of fielding techniques and fundamentals before he begins his first game. One of the early considerations is to choose the right glove. Don't buy a glove simply because it has the name of your favorite big leaguer on it or because it's the most expensive one. You need to get one that you can handle easily, that's not cumbersome or unwieldy. For instance, this glove is a wide and deep glove and best for outfielders and pitchers and third baseman. On the other hand, this glove is a good one for the infielders, for the second baseman, and for the shortstop, because it is not so deep and not so expansive. Any baseball player, whether he is a big leaguer or a little leaguer, must have the proper grip when he throws the ball to assure good velocity and good accuracy. And there is a right grip, and here it is. It's with the index finger and the middle finger across one of the four long seams on the baseball, and the thumb placed directly underneath the index finger and the bony part of the thumb resting against the ball. There should be a gap between the finger and the thumb so the ball is out in the fingertips. The finger should be spread slightly on the ball. Now, when the ball is released with the proper throwing motion, this grip will permit the ball to come from the fingers with this kind of rotation, and the four long seams rotating in this fashion will carry the ball, will keep it going on a straight line, and will have the best possible velocity. It would be a mistake for a fielder, any fielder, catcher, infielder, or outfielder, to hold the ball across the smooth surface or against only one seam. This is the proper grip, and every player should strive to throw the ball with this grip. Every time he practices, where he's warming up with his teammates or throwing the ball against the garage door, every time he should make sure that this is the proper grip for the infielder, the outfielder, and the catcher. Remembering that this is the only acceptable grip for the infielder, outfielder, and catcher with which to throw the ball, let's go on to the rest of the body action to create an efficient, accurate throw with good velocity. If I'm to throw to the target straight ahead of me, I wouldn't throw like this. That's wrong. I get no action except from my arm. But if I can bring my body into position before I throw and line my shoulders up with the target, establish my pivot foot, my back foot in a perpendicular fashion to the target, raise my leg and draw back with my arm, then place the stride, my foot striding directly toward the target. I open my hips and shoulders as I push off the pivot foot and bring my arm through in this 3/4 overhand motion. That's the most efficient and less stressful way to throw the ball. I'll do it all in one motion. I get my shoulders lined up, I stride, and I throw toward my target and I follow through. You'll notice that when I release the ball, my arm was in this position. I don't want to drop down in this way or I push the ball and it begins to sink before it reaches the target. I don't want to come in the overhand motion because I have no direction. But if I come in the 3/4 overhand motion with a 90-degree angle here at this position of my upper arm and trunk, a 90-degree angle between the elbow and the forearm, and a 90-degree angle here at my wrist, now I have all those things operating together in good motion and torque and gives direction, thrust, and velocity to the ball. Let me show again how it would be done as I do it quickly and put it all together. I catch the ball, take it out, establish my arm and back, my shoulders lined up, my stride toward the target, I throw with a 3/4 overhand motion and follow through to complete the continuity of the throwing action. Each of the 4 infielders has certain things he does similarly. Each of the players, first base, second base, shortstop, and third, throw with the same grip, the cross seams grip. Each of them, before the ball is pitched, are set. As the ball is pitched, they're ready. When the ball is hit to them, they go through the feet spread, seat down, hands in front, bring the ball through the midpoint of the body and get ready to throw. But each of them has certain unique characteristics also that are best suited to their position. The third baseman has to have a lot of courage to knock down the hot shots that come his way and protect against extra base hits down the line. He must be very quick with his first movements to the right and the left and be able to make the play. He must have a strong arm. The shortstop should be the best infielder of all, with the most range and the strongest arm and the surest hands. He has the most ground to cover. The second baseman's qualifications, he's got to have a lot of courage also to stand in there against the double play and be prepared to get knocked down by the runner as he completes the double play. He has to have very quick feet and quick hands to catch the ball from the infielder and get it on its way to first base to complete the double play in an instant. The first baseman, he need not have a strong arm because his throws are not of the long variety, but he must have very, very sure and quick hands to catch the balls in the dirt, the low throws. He must have a great deal of instinct and communication to coordinate with the pitcher when he covers the bag. And he must be among the smartest of the players on the field because he handles the ball so much of the time. So those qualifications are best suited to each of the 4 infielders. The mental preparation for the fielder is just as important as the actual act of fielding the ball. No ball player should be standing like this, looking up in the sky at the airplanes going over or watching in the stands to see if his girlfriend has arrived. The good ball player, before the ball is ever pitched, is making his plans mentally. What am I going to do when the ball is hit to me? How fast is the runner on first base? How fast is the batter? What's the score? How many outs are there? Are we home team or visiting team? Where's the sun? How about the wind? All of these things have to go into my mind so when the ball is hit to me, I can make the proper decision. And I like to see the fielders, all the outfielders, all the infielders in this position to make their plans. I call it the set position. The feet are spread more than shoulder width apart. The back is straight, the seat is down, and my knees are bent with my hands on my knees, and I'm looking now to survey the scene. All those things I mentioned a moment ago. Now, as the ball is pitched by the pitcher, he releases the ball. Now I go from the set position to the ready position. I don't make much of a change, but it is important. I lower my seat a little bit more. My weight goes forward on the balls of my feet a little bit more. And now my gaze is right at home plate. I see nothing else but the bat hit the ball. And now it's coming toward me. If it's a ground ball, and I'm going to move in toward it, I must do that. I must not wait for the ball to come to me. This is true of the infielders and the outfielders. From the set position to the ready position, the ball is hit, and now I move in. I stay low, and I move in, and as the ball gets to me, I go right back into that position with my feet spread, which allows me to get my body down, the weight forward. You notice that the position of my glove is a 45-degree angle off the ground. My hands are in front where I can see the ball enter the glove. My bare hand is there ready to fold over it, and when it comes, I bring it up to the middle of the body this way and prepare to throw. I don't bring it this way or this way. That's important because I need to have control of that ball and get it into the proper grip to make my play. Let me demonstrate now with the ball actually hit toward me. I can be an infielder or an outfielder. The technique remains the same. I'm set, making my plans. I'm ready, and here comes the ball. It's hit at me. I move in and make the play. Suppose the ball is hit to either my right or left on the ground. What's the best way to move my body over in that direction so I can be in front of the ball with my seat down, feet spread, and hands in front? The best way for a baseball player to move to the side is with a crossover step in this fashion. I'm set, I'm ready, now the ball is hit to my left. I stay low and throw my upper body in that direction as I pivot on the ball of my left foot, push off with my right, and cross over and begin moving in that direction. That is a quicker and more efficient way to move to the side than this very common error, to pick up my left foot and then cross over. That's a waste of time. So if I'm going to my right, I'm set, I'm ready, ball hit in that direction, throw my upper body, pivot on the ball of this foot, push off with that foot, and get over in front of the ball, field it, and make the play to first base. Let me demonstrate now with the ball actually hit to my right. I can be the infielder or the outfielder. The technique is the same. I'm set, making my plans. I'm ready. The ball is pitched, the ball is hit. To my right. I get over in front, field it, and make the play. Ideally, the best way for an infielder or outfielder to catch the ground ball is to be squarely in front of it. But obviously there are times when the ball is out of our reach and we cannot be in front of it and must try with the glove only. But there is a proper technique for this. I'm set. I'm ready. The ball is hit to my left. I cross over and go for the ball, but realize I can't be in front of it, and now I must reach for it with my glove only. You'll notice that my glove is slightly hooked in. The glove face is fully open to the ball, and the wrist is slightly hooked so the ball will not go off the end of the glove and trickle into the outfield. The common error is for the infielder to try to smash the ball or pancake it. That's wrong. You want to make sure your glove is in this position, so now as you catch it, you can bring it up, make your position to throw, and have it on its way. Let me demonstrate. It's more difficult for the infielder or outfielder to go to the backhand side and make that play. But still, it must be done. And here's the technique. Set, ready, crossover, stay low. Realize I can't get in front of the ball and must stretch for it with a backhand play. You'll notice that my glove is still in the same fashion with fully open to the ball, the wrist slightly hooked, and the glove in a position so the ball won't tip off the end of the fingers. Catch the ball, come into throwing position, and make the play. When the ball comes at the infielder or outfielder, batted ball or thrown ball, in a direct line, we must insist that the fielder keep his chest in front of every ball and catch it with both hands. If the ball comes to him from the waist up, we want him to catch it with the fingers pointed up, 2 hands. If the ball comes to him from the waist down, he should then bend down to meet the ball and catch it with his fingers down, in that fashion. It's a mistake to catch a ball from the waist up like this or from the waist down like this. Now watch as I do it. The outfielders form the outer defense for any successful baseball team, whether it's in the major leagues or in Little League. And the 3 boys to play the outfield on any team must have the following characteristics and qualifications. First of all, they need to be fast on their feet to cover a lot of ground, particularly the center fielder. They need to have strong arms, particularly the right fielder who has a long throw. And the left fielder must be good in going to the line and cutting off any extra base hits before they get past him. But common to all three outfielders are the following fundamentals and techniques. Before the ball is pitched, the outfielder should assume the set position the same as the infielders did. When the pitcher releases the ball, they should take the ready position and be able to react to the right, left, forward, backward instantly when the ball approaches them. If the ball is hit over their head and the outfielder has to make a move backward, his first move should be a drop back step, not a crossover step as it was for the ball hit laterally. Now this is over his right shoulder. The first step should be a drop back step and training his eyes on the ball as it leaves the infield, then the crossover and to go back and try to get underneath the ball before it hits the ground. Over the left shoulder, it would be this move. Drop back step, crossover, eyes on the ball. The good outfielder makes every attempt to get behind the ball as well as underneath it, so he can catch it as he approaches the infield in this fashion and make the play. The outfielder that drifts with the ball is a lazy outfielder, and he would have to catch the ball like this and then bring himself under control, recover, and throw toward the infield. The good outfielder, on the other hand, doing the techniques properly, would drop back, cross over, get behind the ball, and approach it and catch it as it comes down and be ready to throw all in the same motion. Let me demonstrate. Perhaps the most difficult of all plays for the outfielder is the ball hit deep and over his head against the fence. He must be aware that the fence is there and he can't run into it, drop the ball, or hurt himself. And at the same time, the outfielder's eyes must be fastened on the ball. So the technique to do that is this. Set, ready. When he realizes the ball is deep and over his head, his drop back step is the first. Then he goes back and finds the fence with his bare hand, realizes where it is. Now he reads the ball. He may come in and catch the ball from there. On the other hand, he may have to stay against the fence and leap high to try to make the play. It's a difficult play, but one that can be done with a proper technique. We tend to think of outfielders catching mostly fly balls, but the fact is that over a long season, the outfielder will catch more ground balls than he will fly balls. So it's imperative that they do it properly and not allow the ball to get underneath their glove or over their shoulder for extra bases. There are three basic ways for the outfielder to catch the ground ball. The first is the safest way when we know that the runner is not going to take an extra base. Let's say it's a single hard hit to the outfield. We want to make sure we catch the ball and prevent the batter from going on to second base. I'm set, I'm ready, here comes the ball. I move in on it and actually drop down to one knee and do all I can to block the ball in the event that I can't catch it. That prevents the ball from getting underneath my body. The safest way, but it's also the slowest way. A more common way for the good outfielder is to do this. On the ball hit at him or slightly to his right or to his left. I'm set, I'm ready, here comes the ball, I move in on it, and I do the same as the infielder. Set with the feet spread and the body down and the glove out in front, field it to the midpoint of the body and return it to the infield. That's also safe and it's a little quicker, but it must be done properly. The third option for the outfielder in fielding the ground ball is the most risky, and we only do it in certain situations. We call it the do or die. It's with a tying or winning run in the late innings at second base, and here comes a single to the outfielder. He has to field it and get rid of it as quickly as possible to try to throw that run out at the plate. And here's how the technique and fundamentals of that do or die play would appear. I'm set, I'm ready, here comes the ball. Now I know I have to scoop it up and get rid of it in a hurry, so I scoop it with one hand. As I'm moving forward, I have my left foot forward ideally, scoop it up and come through and make the throw home and try to retire that important run. It's a difficult play and one we do only in certain situations, the do or die. As coaches and parents, we can't expect our baseball players to improve with only game experience. The outfielder may never get a chance in that particular game, so we have to construct and conduct drills for them to improve their fielding. This particular drill is called the one-step drill, and it emphasizes the importance of the crossover step when they move laterally to go to a ball, hit to their right or their left. We conduct it in this fashion. The coach is out in front, or the parent, and the players are massed in front of him. We could have as many as 15 or 20 players doing the same drill. The coach gives the command, set, ready, and gives a 1 point, and that indicates that they would cross over to their left. And then the coach can observe to see that they do it properly. Set, ready. And each of the boys did it just fine that time. The crossover step rather than picking up their lead foot and stepping in that direction. Then we add several other signals to this one-step drill. Set, ready, and it's a drop-back step with their left foot as if the ball was hit over their left shoulder for the outfielder. Set, ready, and it's a drop-back step with their right foot, in this case, to get their body started in that direction. Now, the natural follow-up of this, after you've done 15 or 20 times of repetition on the one-step drill, is to add 2 more steps and make it the 3-step drill. Now we have a ball in each of the player's glove. And when he goes through the 3 steps and reaches that point, then he fields the ground ball or the fly ball and takes the ball out of his glove and makes the motion back to throw it to the coach. Obviously, he wouldn't throw it because you can't catch all 4 balls, but go through the motion, striving to get the proper grip on the ball. Set, ready. 3 steps now to go over and field that ball, go through the act of fielding and throw it back to the coach. Set, ready. Crossover, 3 steps, feet spread, seat down, hands in front, bring it through the middle of the body and be ready to throw. Set, ready. Fly ball over their right shoulder, drop back step, get to the ball, reach up, catch it, and be ready to throw it back to the infield. Set, ready. Drop back left, get to the ball, turn, catch it, throw it home. Many repetitions of these 2 drills, the 1-step and the 3-step drill, will get into the minds of the players the proper technique and fundamentals to move their body laterally, to move it to the back if the ball's hit over their head. Very useful fielding drills. This next fielding drill, the 2-line reaction drill, introduces game-like conditions to the fielders. We could have as many as 5 or 6 players lined up with their partners stationed about 25 or 30 feet apart. The coach positions himself behind the line that will be doing the fielding, and he gives a command, a signal to the players, their partners, to throw the ball, and then the fielders react to it. They don't know whether they'll go right, left, forward, or backward. I'll demonstrate. Set, ready. Back to position, set, ready. Good. Set, ready. Set, ready. Hitting a baseball is difficult. I think it's perhaps the most difficult single skill in all of sports. To take a round bat and a round baseball and consistently be able to hit it squarely is indeed a difficult thing to do. But with proper technique and fundamentals, a hitter can find success in this most difficult of all skills. We have 3 basic philosophies that we try to teach our hitters here at the University of Arizona. The first is to be aggressive, to go up to the plate expecting to hit the ball if it's a strike, not to go there saying to yourself, if it's a ball, I won't swing, but rather, if it's a strike, I'm going to hit it and hit it hard. One of the things that will help build confidence in your mind to be aggressive at the plate is to be well protected with a good helmet. It's essential that all baseball players have this protection for the head, and I suggest that it be a double ear flap helmet and well fitted, and that will give you the aggressiveness and the confidence up at the plate to be the best of all possible hitters. The second philosophy we have is to try to hit hard ground balls and line drives. I'm convinced that if a hitter can hit the ball hard on the ground, he will find far more success than trying to uppercut the ball and hit it out of the park. So secondly, we strive to hit hard ground balls and line drives, and that will lead to success. And thirdly, we want our hitters to be ready for the fastball and be able to adjust to the curve and the breaking pitch, the changeup. So with those three basic philosophies, we feel we can build a foundation for good hitting principles, and now let's get specific. Here are 5 ways that you can become a better hitter. Let's begin with a selection of the bat. Most hitters have a tendency to select a bat that's either too heavy and/or too long. You must have a bat that you can control with ease. My suggestion is that young hitters from ages 8 through 14 have a bat that's about 28 to 32 inches long. Hitters in high school and up through, let's say, 18 years of age can go from the bat being 32 inches to 34 inches long. And college and professional hitters normally use bats from 34 to 35 and a half inches. The weight of the bat should be about 2 ounces less than the length of the bat. So if you were using a 33-inch bat, a 31 ounce would be properly balanced as far as the weight and the length of the bat. Here's another good rule to help you decide whether your bat is too heavy and too long. If you take your favorite bat and hold it out in front of you with your strong hand and an extended arm, and you can hold that bat steady for 10 seconds, then that bat is not too heavy for you. However, if it begins to waver and begin to drop before 10 seconds elapse, that bat's too heavy. Now that you have the proper bat, let's talk about the best possible grip. When the bat is gripped in both hands, there should be a slight choke-up area here, about 1 inch or ½ an inch away from the knob of the bat. It's not a good idea for young hitters to hold the bat down over the knob in this fashion, but to choke up just a little bit for better control. Here's an important part that you must acknowledge in the proper grip of the bat. The middle knuckles of your hand should be lined up, and in that straight line, that gives your hands freedom of motion and a whip-like action as you bring the bat through the hitting zone. So important to the grip is that the bat be in the fingers, not in the palms, and that the middle knuckles of the bat be lined up on the bat itself in this fashion. A common mistake among young hitters in the grip on the bat is to begin to rotate their hands on the bat so the base knuckles begin to line up in this way, and that causes a very restricted swing and very little wrist action as the bat comes into the strike zone, and it causes a slow bat. So remember, the proper grip is to have the bat in the fingers and with the middle knuckles lined up. Now you have a chance to be quick with the bat as it comes into the strike zone and makes contact with the ball. Thirdly, an area of improvement for every hitter should be a consistent stance. The stance must provide good plate coverage so the bat can cover the outside part of the plate as well as the inside part of the plate. And I would recommend this stance to begin with. Let's begin with the feet. The feet should be spread more than shoulder width apart to provide a good base of support at home plate for the hitter. The front foot should be opened up slightly to the pitcher and not closed like this, that will restrict the hips, but open up slightly for preparation to take the stride. The knees should be bent, the weight forward on the balls of the feet slightly, and the hips and shoulders level. Now we have a good basic stance with the feet and the lower body. Now the position of the hands on the bat, we know about the proper grip. Now let's position the hands away from the body to be comfortably prepared for any kind of pitch. This is the recommended position of the hands. Out away from the body comfortably and at a level with the shoulders. Not back in this fashion, not forward here, not up, not down, but even with the back shoulder. The position of the bat in the preparation for the swing should be in this angle. Not straight up and vertical, not completely horizontal, but midway between, which will lessen the distance for the bat head to travel to the point of contact to hit the ball. The more we wrap the bat back behind the head like this in the stance, the farther the bat head has to travel and the more margin for error is created. So put the bat in this fashion, about a 45-degree angle between the vertical and the horizontal and comfortably away from the body. Now the position of the head in the proper stance is extremely important. We want to make sure that our eyes are completely level with the pitcher and have full sight of the path of the ball as it comes toward us. We don't want to be peeking out of the side of one eye and over the bridge of the nose or have our head tilted. Our eyes must be level and fully facing the pitcher. So the chin should rest on the front shoulder in the proper stance for full and good view of that pitch as it comes in. Now this complete stance from the feet on up through the body to the head, including the grip, is basically a good stance from which to start for the young hitter. There will be variations perhaps to compensate for weaknesses, but this is a good place to start. Now let's begin talking about that area of hitting, the stride, that separates the good hitters from the poor. The stride is extremely important for control of the body as we prepare to hit the pitch. Remember this all-important principle as we begin to talk about the stride. Keep your hands and your weight back as long as possible during the stride. The stride should be low and short, almost as if you're stepping out on thin ice. It should be no longer than 8 to 10, 12 inches in that area. Some hitters will stride only 8 inches, others will stride up to 12. The important thing is that you keep your hands and your weight back, conserving the power and the energy until the moment you begin your hands forward in the swing. But the stride should be forward onto the toe of the foot, not onto the heel or onto the full force of the foot altogether, but onto the toe, which allows now your weight to stay back over the back foot where it belongs, where the energy and the power is conserved. So this would be wrong, this would be correct in the stride. A common error among young hitters in the stride is to stride too far, which then brings their weight forward and dissipates the strength of their swing and puts too much weight on the front foot and not on the back. So we must be careful that the front foot is low and close to the ground and landing on the toe. Somewhere between 8 or 12 inches would be a good stride. The stride and the swing are built together. They're almost one and the same. A good stride will lead to a good swing. As the hitter takes his stride forward, remembering to keep the hands and the weight back as long as possible, now as the swing begins, he can bring the hips into action as he powers the bat forward into the strike zone in a slight down arc. You notice that as the hands came through and the hips began to open, I pivoted up on the ball of the back foot. Now that allowed my hips to be quick in this fashion and allowed the bat thusly to be quick and make contact with the ball in front of the plate. The slight down arc is important in the swing because remember, we want to create hard ground balls and line drives rather than pop flies. Remember, the ground ball has to be fielded by a fielder, then thrown accurately to first base in order to retire the runner, whereas a pop fly with this kind of swing, an uppercut swing, any one of 3 players perhaps could run under it and catch it easily. So the slight down arc to the swing is absolutely essential to good. It will bring a higher batting average, fewer strikeouts, and more line drives. Remember now, keep the weight back, the hands back as long as possible, a short stride, keep the hands back and conserve the strength and energy. Now as the pitch is in the strike zone and you want to begin swinging at it, pivot up on the back foot, bring the hands through quickly in a slight down arc, and make contact with the ball, and a hard ground ball will get you to first base most often. Here's the good stride, the good swing, all put together. Bunting is an important part of baseball. To be able to move the base runner from first to second or second to third, to take advantage of a poor fielding first baseman, third baseman, or pitcher is good strategy on the part of the bunter. The proper bunting technique is this. As the pitcher begins delivering, the bunter gets into this position. He pivots on the ball of his front foot and back foot, and which allows him to open the hips and shoulders toward the pitcher, which is very important. We don't want to bunt from this position. We want to have complete control of the body and then the bat. The position of the bat is very important. It should be at the top of the strike zone with a slight up angle, like so. The grip on the bat is important. Not to grip it like so with a fist to expose the fingers to the ball and maybe injury, but to take the thumb and place it on top of the bat. The first finger and the second finger to form a cradle underneath the bat. And the bottom hand should slide slightly up from the knob toward the top of the bat. Now that is a good grip for the bunter as he begins to offer toward the ball. The knees are bent, the hips and shoulders are level, and the eyes are directly on the ball. If the ball is low in the strike zone, we just bend our knees to bunt the first base line or the third base line. If the ball is high above the strike zone, we have that good frame of reference here with the bat, and we can just let it go for a ball. The bunt should be down the first base line or the third base line and not to the pitcher. To tap the ball is the proper way, not to push the ball. And that gives a good bunting technique and will allow the bunter to have a good chance to reach first base as well as advance the runner to second. The first drill for parents and coaches of Little League teams that's very helpful is the stride drill. With each of your hitters, there may be as many as 15 or 20 out in front of you, positioned in this fashion with the bat behind their back, prepared to do the proper stride. Here's how it's conducted. The coach can be the pitcher, and he can go through the windup, and as he does, the players are ready to take the proper stride upon command. Stride. You'll notice that only the stride was incorporated, no hips at this point. The low, light, careful stride of 8 to 10 inches. Here we go again, team. Stride. Remember to stride on your toe now, not your heel. Stride. That's good. The natural progression now for the hitter, after he has learned the proper stride, is to introduce the concept of quick hips. The next drill will be incorporating both the stride and the hips. Watch for the hitters to pivot up on the ball of their back foot and whip the hips through quickly. Here we go. All right, team. We're going to have good, quick hips here. Hips. You'll notice that the hitters pivot on the ball of their back foot, which frees up the action of their hips, and they will have quick lower body. Here we go again. Hips. They don't stride heavily out on the front foot. They try to keep the weight over their back foot, stride low and light, and hips. Very good. Now that your hitters have understood the concept of the proper stride and the quick hips, we can put the entire swing together, incorporating those two basic things, and now the swing. So the hitters should take their bat and get into the proper stance with the proper grip, the middle knuckles lined up, the feet spread a little bit more than shoulder width apart, the weight forward on the balls of the feet, and their bat ready. In this drill, the coach should holler the command either high, low, or down the middle, and the hitters will swing at that pitch. High. And you can check out certain flaws in their swing or commend certain strengths. Next pitch, the hitters are ready. Low. And finally, the last pitch, which will be down the middle, down the middle. You can do this drill with your hitters as well as the stride drill and the hip drill as many as 20 or 25 times. Always looking for things that you can correct in the swing or certain strengths that you can commend. After you have done these 3 drills in progression, you can go on to other hitting drills with your team. One of the most useful drills for baseball hitters is the tee drill, where the player can put the ball on the tee for his partner, and then he can very carefully go through all the techniques, the stride, the hips, the slight down arc to the swing, the follow through. And in this particular case, we want our hitter to make sure to hit the top half of the ball, not the bottom half, emphasizing the line drives and the ground balls. You must be careful to supervise this drill because there is some danger involved. It's best done up against a large fence or net or within an enclosure where the balls will not go out and hit other players who are practicing in other parts of the field. By the way, coaches and parents, you can make a tee just like this with very little expenditure, with a 5-gallon pail, some cement, some radiator hose, and some kind of stem on which to put it. It's a very useful drill for all hitters. Our next drill for the hitter, the soft toss drill, is an excellent drill that can be used either indoors or outdoors. Position the batter about 12 feet away from the coach or parent and in his stance ready to hit. From this underhanded kneeling position, I can toss the balls accurately into the strike zone, and the hitter can then hit the ball directly ahead and into the net or some high screen that you have provided. There is some danger to this drill, so you must be careful to supervise properly to make sure that no other players are in range. Now, from this close-in vantage point, the coach or parent can see the swing, the stance, the stride, the slight down arc to the swing. All of the fundamentals and techniques that we've discussed can be coached from this close-in vantage point. An excellent drill, the soft tossed drill. A variation of the soft toss drill is to put the hitter down on the back knee, as you see our hitter demonstrating here, and to toss the balls underhanded into his reduced strike zone. This maximizes the use of the hands and really demonstrates the need for the slight down arc to the swing. You see, there's no stride, no hips. Everything depends on the quick hands and the proper swing of the bat in order to make good contact. So this one knee soft toss drill is very, very helpful to isolate the upper part of the body, the hands, and the swing. Now your hitter will get tired after about 10 or 12 of these swings, and so it's a good idea not to go beyond that. The one knee soft toss drill. Good, Chris. Perhaps the most useful and all-purpose hitting drill we have is called short toss. It's a dangerous drill, and that's why I insist it be done in an enclosed area like this batting cage. The hitter is positioned about 15 feet in front of the protective screen behind which the coach or parent sits to toss the balls. Because I'm down low like this, I can toss the ball over the screen into the strike zone of the hitter and duck down and be out of danger. Because I'm at a close vantage point, only about 15 feet away, I can throw my baseballs into a particular part of the strike zone. If I want the hitter to work on the low pitch, I can throw low. If I want him to hit on the high pitch, I can throw it up there. So there are many, many quality repetitions of hitting available in the short toss drill. And the coach can be very close to the hitter and coach him as he hits. The short toss drill. Before I begin talking about pitching, let me address a word to the parents and the coaches. We must be very careful to make sure that our players are properly caring for their arms. This is a very delicate and precious instrument that is easily damaged. And if we force them into throwing hard before they're properly warmed up, or worse yet, allow them to throw without the proper techniques and mechanics, we can create an injury that might be lifelong. I'm aware of youngsters who, having suffered a sore arm, soon lose interest in baseball because they can't throw properly. So if it's cold and windy or damp, let's make sure that our players are properly covering their arms with a sweatshirt or jacket. And before the game begins or hard practice, let's be certain that we give them adequate time to warm up so they keep their arms strong and resilient for as long as they want to play baseball. Now let's go on to pitching. There are 3 basic qualifications to be a good pitcher at whatever level, the Little League level, the college level, right to the major leagues. The first, and most desirous really, is the ability to throw hard. Now, not all pitchers have that inherent ability to throw the ball with great velocity like Nolan Ryan. But there are still successful pitchers who can't throw that hard but have the second qualification, which I believe is very important, perhaps the most important, and that's the ability to pitch with control, to throw the ball in the strike zone where they want, to lay the ball down low in the strike zone instead of high to the power of the hitter. The third qualification is the ability to pitch with confidence and poise and to have complete control of the emotions. You put those three together and you have a chance to be a very, very fine pitcher. I believe that we can limit our young pitchers to 3 basic pitches and they can still have a lot of success. Rather than going on to knuckleballs and forkballs and split-fingered fastballs, let's talk today about the 3 basic pitches: the fastball, the curveball, and the changeup. Here are the 2 basic grips for the fastball. Depending on the strength and velocity of the pitcher's arm, he may elect to use this as his basic grip if he has a good arm and can throw hard. You'll notice that it's a cross-seam grip. The index finger and the middle finger are across one of the 4 long seams on the ball, and the bony part of the thumb is underneath, and the ball is out in the fingertips. The 3rd finger rests along the side of the ball. Now, with proper delivery, proper mechanics of the entire body, this grip can be released by the pitcher and have all 4 seams rotating rapidly as the ball approaches the hitter. This is the grip that Nolan Ryan uses to throw his 98-mile-an-hour fastball. It actually has a rise to it as it approaches the strike zone. This is the second grip for the fastball. It's used by pitchers who don't throw as hard as Nolan Ryan and Dwight Gooden, and they want their fastball to sink rather than rise because the velocity of their pitch is not so great. This fastball grip, is across and with the short seams on the baseball. And now when the release takes place and the ball rotates off of the grip with a proper delivery, the rotation includes only the short seams, and it has a tendency now to begin to spin and fall down in the strike zone rather than rise in the strike zone. So it is an effective pitch, and a pitch, for instance, like Tommy John has used for so long in his career, a sinking fastball. That would be the grip for that very effective pitch. The second pitch I want to discuss with you today is the curveball. We must be careful, coaches, not to expect a younger player, age 10, 11, or 12, to throw the curveball because it places too much stress and tension on his elbow and his shoulder. But for the youngster 15 and above, the curveball can be introduced with effectiveness. The proper grip for the curveball is with the short seams on the ball and with extreme pressure on the middle finger. If the ball is gripped in this fashion and released properly with good mechanics of delivery, as the ball comes through in the release, the index finger's pressure is released off of the ball and extreme pressure is placed on the middle finger, and the wrist is snapped down to bring the ball now in its release over that finger, and it begins to tumble out of the grip rather than released like the fastball. Now we have in the curveball spin very rapid rotation of all 4 seams, but in a sidewise fashion, and it will carry it down and away from the right-handed hitter. The curveball should be released with that very, very strong pressure on the middle finger, tumbling off over the index finger and on its way to the plate. It should be attempted to throw low in the strike zone. The curveball is a difficult pitch to control, and yet for a good pitcher, he must have that in his assortment of pitches. The third basic pitch is the changeup, and this pitch is very, very often discarded or ignored by coaches and by young pitchers, but it is very effective. The changeup is thrown with the same motion as the fastball and the curveball, from the same point of release, but it's thrown much more slowly. In order not to tip off the changeup that it's coming, we mustn't slow down the action of the body and the arm. So the grip now is essential that it be changed. And here is one of the ways to grip the changeup: with 3 fingers rather than 2, and pushed way back in the palm of the hand rather than held out in the tips of the fingers. With this grip, the ball is thrown just in the same way that the fastball and curveball were. But because of the friction and the expanse of flesh on the ball, it releases that much more quickly. So now with the release, as I begin to wind up and throw the changeup and come in this fashion, I throw as hard as I can, but the ball is released so much more slowly because of the three-fingered grip, and it reduces the speed by about 20% compared to the fastball, and it's just enough to throw the batter off of his timing, and he will be way out in front of the pitch. So those three basic pitches are enough for the young pitcher: the fastball, the curveball, and the changeup. Before I begin talking about the mechanics of the windup and stretch and delivery for the pitcher, I want to say a word of caution to the parents and to the coaches. We tend to make pitching too complicated for the youngster. We tend to give him too big a delivery and expect too much of him. Actually, the pitching technique can be broken down into some very basic things and make it as simple as possible. That's what I'd like to do with you today. First of all, the pitcher should have a rather large glove to protect himself from a batted ball back up the middle, and also to hide the pitches and the grip that he will take from the hitter. So a big glove is essential. The pitching rubber, this area of the pitching mound that's 24 inches long and 6 inches wide, should be fully utilized by the pitcher in his delivery. I suggest that as he begins taking his sign, either from the windup or the stretch, that he place his foot squarely in the middle of the pitching rubber, with the toe extended over the edge of the rubber and the heel on the top. From this position, the pitcher begins his windup, transferring his weight to the back foot and rocking on the rubber, and as he does, he turns his pivot foot parallel to the rubber and perpendicular to the plate. Now he's able to bring his body into the desired position with his shoulders lined up toward the target, his stride foot up in this position, and his upper body tucked down low. This gives balance, control, and also begins to generate power in the body as he starts coming forward into the stride. Now this position is important that we break down and analyze. The stride foot must hit the ground in a straight line toward the target, the catcher's mitt. If the stride foot is placed on this side of the line that I've drawn here on the pitcher's mound, it prevents the hips and shoulders from opening fully, and then prevents the arm from getting up in the proper three-quarter delivery motion. So let's show that again in the stride. Right here, now you'll see my hips are open, my shoulders open, and I can get my elbow up into this three-quarter position. That gives good, efficient movement of the arm through the delivery and release of the ball. By contrast, see what would happen if I do this and place the stride foot to this side of the line. My hips are locked. That drags my pitching arm down, and instead of the three-quarter motion, I get a sidearm slinging motion, and I do not have as good control with that pitch as if I had strode on this side of the line. So let's be careful with our pitchers that when they take their stride, they place their foot in a direct line toward the catcher's glove and on this side of the line. Once the stride foot has been properly placed, and that permits the elbow to come up into the proper three-quarter overhand motion, now the body is in good position to give a good, hard, and accurate throw to the plate, and the follow-through occurs after that. The arm comes across the body bends at the hips, and the pitcher is in good control. Let me do that for you, putting all parts of this delivery together, and see the different techniques take place. The pivot foot, the power position, the stride, and the follow-through, and the position now that allows the pitcher to come back into fielding position if the ball's hit back up the middle. With runners on base, the pitcher must pitch from what we call the set position. It allows him to check the runners to make sure they don't get a big lead. He'll take the sign from the catcher with the ball in his glove. Now he'll go into the stretch and return now with his both hands in front of the body and be able to check the runner at second, the runner at third, make sure they don't have a big enough lead, and then deliver it to the plate. And after that, everything remains the same as it was in the wind-up position. A good follow-through and being in position to catch the ball hit back up the middle. No team has ever won a championship without a good catcher. You can call your catcher the director, the captain, the one who makes things happen. His qualifications must include courage and the ability to communicate to his pitcher. Also important is the catcher's equipment. We must not skimp or try to save on the equipment back here for the catcher because it protects some very vital parts of his body. Let's start with the shin guards. They must cover more than just the front of the leg. They must have a flap that covers the foot itself because many low pitches and foul tips will hit the catcher there. They must have a flap over the knee as well as this one below the knee. That's important. The chest protector must be snugged up close against the throat, against the Adam's apple. It must not be loose to expose that very, very vulnerable part of the catcher's throat. The helmet is a good idea. Many catchers do not wear this, but I recommend strongly that you do because a wild swing by a batter could let the bat go or take it too far back and hit you in the head, and if you're covered with this helmet, it's a good protective device. And next, the mask should be made of heavy, durable metal for absolute perfect protection. It should fit snugly over the catcher's helmet and down over his face, covering as much of the chin and the Adam's apple as possible for maximum protection. And any smart catcher will also provide a protective cup for the groin area. Now the glove. The best glove should be a single hinge model like this one is. It provides a trapping action as well as a catching action when the ball hits the glove. The glove's position in relation to the pitch depends, of course, on where the pitch is. Inside, outside, high or low. Now the sign-giving position. There are several things important that the catcher should know when he assumes the position to signal the pitch to the pitcher. He must put the catcher's glove in this position to hide from view of the third base coach what he is doing with his fingers to signal the pitch. The knees should be closely together, not widely spread, to prevent the third base coach or the base runner at first from looking in to see the signals. The right hand gives the signal to the pitcher as to what will be thrown, and that should be held deep back within the crotch to make sure that the signals aren't picked up by the opposition. Normally, 1 is a fastball, 2 is a curve, and 3 is a changeup. Once the sign is given to the pitcher, now the catcher assumes the receiving position and takes his place in the catcher's box far enough back so he's not hit by the bat as it's swung. At the same time, he should not be so far back that he minimizes the good target for the pitcher. The best place to be is right about in that position where he's far enough back to be out of danger and close enough to give a good target. Now that we've established the proper receiving position for the catcher, let's analyze some of the things that we see here. You'll notice that the catcher's base of support is widely spread. His feet are more than shoulder width apart. His back is straight, his seat is down, and that allows the catcher from this position to sway in and out, back and forth to receive the pitch. Which leads us to a very important technique that separates the good catcher from the bad catcher. We call it framing. Let's imagine that the pitch is very close to the inside or outside corner, or very close to the high part of the strike zone or low part. The catcher can provide that technique and get a strike rather than the ball by framing this pitch in. As the pitch comes on the outside part of the plate, he frames it into the strike zone. Let's say it's a high strike and he frames it down, a low strike and he frames it up. All of this allows the catcher to get that close pitch for his pitcher, and it becomes a strike rather than a ball. The most difficult play that the catcher has to perform is the low pitch, the one in the dirt. We do not expect the catcher to catch everyone, but we do expect him to block. Watch the technique of blocking the low pitch. You'll notice that the catcher fell to his knees, kept his body square to the ball, hunched his shoulders over, his chin down, and put the glove and bare hand in that area underneath his body where the ball might slip through for a wild pitch. The quickest way for the catcher to catch the pitch and deliver the ball through to second base on an attempted steal is with what we call a jump pivot. You notice that as the catcher caught the ball, he dropped his right foot back quickly, lined his shoulders up with second base, and got off a strong throw. That's what we call a jump pivot, and is the quickest way for the catcher to position his body and to make the throw through to second base on the attempted steal. The catcher could get easily confused when he goes to catch a foul pop fly unless he remembers the concept of the infield drift. That is, when the ball leaves the bat in a foul fly, the ball is spinning in such a way that it will drift back toward the field of play. That means that the catcher must have his back turned to the field of play and allow the ball to drift down toward him and not away from him. So once the catcher determines that it is a foul pop fly, either first base dugout, third base dugout, or straight back, he turns, finds the ball, runs over to the point where he feels it will come down and turns his back to the infield, discards his mask, and raises his glove above his chin and catches the ball with two hands, not in a basket-type fashion with the glove down near his chest. And that's the best possible way for the catcher to catch the foul pop fly. It's not enough for a baseball coach to tell his baseball player, run as fast as you can from home to first or from first to third. There is a proper way to run, and with good technique and fundamentals, we could increase the speed of most baseball players. Let's begin here at the top of the body, at the head. The good base runner does not want his teeth to be set and gnashing the teeth and clenching the jaw, because that creates tension that transfers itself all the way down the body to the large muscles. So the head should be loose, the eyes on the target, be it first base or second base, wherever he's running. The shoulders should be level. The good base runner uses his arms effectively like pistons are used in an engine. The arm action should be this. First of all, the hand should be lightly clasped. We don't want the hand to be gripped tight, just like we don't like the jaw to be clenched. So the hand should be lightly clasped together. Then the thrust of the arm forward should not reach beyond the height of the shoulder. Otherwise, part of the momentum and the energy is going up instead of forward. And as the arm comes back in the drive, it should not go beyond the hip. Otherwise, some part of the energy goes up and back rather than keeping it going straight forward. The elbow should be in. It should not be flapping out like this, but should be close into the hip as it goes in that fashion. Let's turn and get this angle, and you'll see that Bob's arm goes no higher than this, forward, no farther back than the hip in this fashion. Why don't we do it real fast, Bob, and they'll see that the arms are working efficiently now in the upper part of the body. The hips should also be level. The hips as they run should be level as the shoulders are. Now the lift of the leg is very important for speed. The knee should be brought up at least to the height of the hip, and that allows the leg then to have a longer stride as it's planted. And as the foot is planted, it should land on the toe and on the ball of the foot with the toe slightly pointed in and not out. That is a good stride for a base runner. Perhaps if we turn to the side, you can see it better. Notice as Bob lifts his leg, it comes up to the height of the hip, and then he strides forward and places his toe down first, not his heel. And he runs in a straight line, not straddling the line, but on the line with each foot placement after that. And the arms and the legs work together to form good efficiencies to propel the body forward as fast as it possibly can go. Okay. Now that the batter has drilled a line drive single to center field and arrived safely at first base, his next responsibility is to make the transition to being an effective base runner. There are 3 rules by which he must abide to begin with. Number 1, before you leave first base and establish your lead, find the ball. Make sure the pitcher has it and not the first baseman waiting for you to step off and tag you with a hidden ball trick. Number 2, check the coach to make sure that he is not giving you a particular signal. He might give you the steal or the hit and run or have the batter bunting. You must know that. The 3rd rule before you leave the bag is to check the defense. See where the second baseman, shortstop, the outfield are playing, in case they're playing a severe pull for the hitter or straight away or shallow or deep. You need to know that so you can advance safely on the batted ball. Now then, to establish the lead, there is a good technique for leading off. You don't want to be haphazard and just do it without reason. Here's the best technique for leading off. Face the pitcher with your eyes, your chest towards second base. And your first move is a left foot step off the bag and then swing over it so your chest is toward the plate, but your eyes are on the mound, and lead off in a low, quick, controlled shuffle. Now at this point, I'm in good base stealing position. I have about a 15-foot lead. I'm a threat to steal. If the pitcher should suddenly turn to pick me off of first, it requires a quick pivot on my left foot, pushing off with my right, and a dive back to the base to avoid the pickoff tag. And I want my hand to reach for this outfield corner of the bag when I dive back. I'll demonstrate the lead again. Left foot, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. 15-foot lead. My eyes are fastened on the pitcher and my chest is toward home. Notice the technique that I have here in my base running crouch. My right foot is dropped slightly back toward the outfield and my toe is open toward second to facilitate a good crossover and break for second base if I steal. My knees are bent. My weight is forward on the balls of my feet. My back is straight and my eyes are fastened on the pitcher with my arms dangling loosely between my legs. If the coach gives me the steal on the next pitch, this is what I would do. Make sure the pitcher delivers to the plate. I would then throw my upper body toward second, pivot on the ball of my right foot, push off with my left, cross over, and take 2 steps, and be sure to look toward the plate to see if the batter swings and pops it up. If there are less than 2 outs, I must put the brakes on and get back. That's the proper technique for the lead, the stance for the base runner, and the break for second base with a crossover step. Sliding is difficult for most players. It's painful and it's awkward, but it needn't be. Sliding is actually controlled falling. It's not a jump and it's not a leap. When the runner approaches the bag and realizes that the play is going to be close and he's going to have to hit the dirt to avoid the tag or to beat the tag, he must establish the straight-in slide, what we call the basic figure 4 slide. And that involves one of the legs being tucked under the other to absorb the force of the fall and to slide cleanly across the dirt. And our players here will show you how we establish which is the tuck leg. Either one is fine, but the player must know which it will be. As I give the command now to these 4 little leaguers seated in this position with their hands back to slide, you'll see that they fall back into the figure 4 slide with their head up looking at the base that they're sliding into. 2 of them have established the right leg as the tuck leg, and the 2 end little leaguers have established the left leg. Either one is fine, but they must remember that that's the easiest and the most natural one. When the player hits the dirt in a basic figure 4 slide, the first part of his body to absorb the brunt of the blow and force against the ground is this inner part of the leg. Then this leg remains tucked above it with a slight flex to the knee, and his body is thrown back with his hands off the ground. Now as he approaches the bag, the front edge of the bag is made contact with by his heel, and the base stops the slider's momentum, and he comes right into the base like so. And that's the good basic figure 4 slide. The use of cardboard strips like this is perhaps new to many of you, but it does provide the best surface on which to teach sliding to youngsters. It gives a smooth, slick surface on which they can slide a long way toward the base, and it prevents them from getting injured or stuck in the dirt or in the wet grass. Remove their shoes before they begin sliding. Now you can have your team one right after the other without fear of injury coming in to practice the figure 4 slide. And the coach can stay right here along the side and coach them in. That was fine, Rusty. Okay, hard as you can now. It's going to be a close play at third base. Here comes Tyler with a figure 4 slide. Okay, that rolled off to the side a little too much. Come as hard as you can, just like in a game. Very good. That's the best one we've had so far. Make this one even better. Good. That's the way to drop that front leg a little lower that time. You're improving all along. Remember how crucial the emotional and mental part of competition is. No baseball player can achieve the best from his body unless his emotions and his mind are properly tuned in also. Let's listen to what some of these noted sports psychologists say about this important aspect of competition.
We've been discussing some of the do's and don'ts and the pitfalls for parents that they might experience when they're watching their child perform in a youth sport. Judy, what are some of the kinds of things that you've noticed as a parent? Well, one of the things I had to do was take a look at my own self along the sidelines when my children were performing. And I also paid attention to the other parents and became very aware of some of these dynamics that distract or help the children when they perform. Some of the don'ts that you might pay attention to are, don't relive your childhood through your child. Don't push the child. You want them to perform well and you do want to show support, but you don't want to push them because it just makes them doubt their own ability and it undermines their self-confidence. Don't expect perfection in your child. They are doing the best that they can at the time, and it's very important for you to realize that. Don't, as a parent, blame other coaches or other players for poor performances, because that gets into a pattern of non-accountability. And the last thing, and the most important, is don't tie your ego or your self-worth to your child's performance. Some of the do's for you parents are, be sensitive to your child and his wants and desires. If he or she does not want to play a sport, they shouldn't have to. If they do, create the opportunities, provide the open doors, be an assistance to them to find out which sport will work for them. Then support the team concept. Help your child understand what it is to be a team member as opposed to being the hero. Give respect to the coach. It is important for the child to respect the coach's opinion and expertise and to listen. Help the child learn from his or her mistakes. It's okay if they make mistakes. They need to learn from them. And through that, you can assist them to become accountable for their performance. If they do well or they don't do well, help them to be accountable for what they did or did not do as a team member.
I think in coaching your own child, there are several important factors to remember. Number one, for the child, activity is very natural. They want to play. They want to participate. Secondly, fun plays a very big role there. The more fun they're going to have, the more they're going to enjoy it, the more they're going to seek sports experiences later in life. And thirdly, the sports experience in and of itself becomes a very telling factor. The child finally is entering the real world. There are other kids, there's a competitive environment, there's the excitement of getting the opportunity to play, to display your wares. In many instances, we find children all of a sudden seeing a new arena about what life is about. I might mention at this juncture that the coach plays a very vital role. Why? The coach represents the first authority, actually having control over the child in a child's area. The coach gets the opportunity to determine whether or not this child becomes a starter or a sub. Can this child improve? How much time will the coach spend with the child? Critical period because the coach is an authority that makes some very heavy decisions about the child. And positiveness, support, and understanding on the coach's part is absolutely vital. And again, the coach making the sport a fun thing rather than a task, rather than looking at it as something that's preoccupied with winning and losing. Fact of the matter, it's important to remember at the 6 to 12 stage that children really aren't preoccupied with winning. What they're preoccupied with is the experience per se. I've attended many games where kids come exhausted off the field and they're not even sure what the score is, and more important, they're not even sure who won. Why do children get involved? It's the activity for them. It's the experience. It's what I call the process. Process is far more important than the product. Process is doing it, getting near the ball, actually kicking it, getting a chance to measure up. The product is did you win or did you lose? And I think the parents need to realize that that is not a preoccupation with children.
In this program, we've attempted to bring you the essentials of baseball, the basic skills of run, throw, hit, and field, and how they apply to each position. Now it's up to you. You mothers and dads and coaches around the land of thousands of Little Leaguers. Give them your encouragement, give them your support, so they'll find time to practice and repeat these skills time and time again so they can enjoy to the fullest this great game of baseball.